You are listening to the Get Global Network podcast of the Ask Avani Show. You can hear the show live on So Metro Radio, Saturdays at 3 p.m. GMT, 9 a.m. Central Time in the U.S. on So Metro Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is the Ask Avani Show. You are tuned into So Metro Radio. I want to welcome everybody, one and all, wherever you may be this afternoon. You are in the place to be with me, UK Soul Queen Diva. Oh yes, people, today's show topic. Wow, we have something very interesting to talk about today. And in the Dallas, Texas studio, I would like to welcome Mr. K. Rose. Good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, Avani.
Oh, yes, people, today's show topic. Wow, yeah, there's been a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, people don't understand. But yes, this week's show topic, we are back again to tell you about exploring some of the differences in the laws and legal systems between the UK and the USA. And do you think there should be more diversity in the UK, for example, in the police force and other establishments? Now, what do you think about that, Karo?
When you say diversity, do you mean inclusion of other colors of people?
Yes, exactly that. I do mean that because I have noticed, especially over here in the UK. I mean, obviously, maybe for you guys in America, because it's a bigger country, there's more black people and other races around. And yeah, I'm assuming that it's a little bit more equal. People joining the police force and the establishments like the legal profession and things like that. Over here, especially in the light of what's been happening over the last few years, I'm just going to put it out there, people. I personally don't think there are a lot of black and other races in the police force that represent the communities that the police forces have to sort of serve. And I think there should be, but then again, I don't know if more black people would actually want to join the police force, especially nowadays. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. You know what to do at Ask Avani Show. What do you think? I've even put out a debate poll, K-Rose. I did. I wanted to know what people thought. So at Ask Avani Show, you know what to do. I was just wondering, do you think there should be more diversity? And there are some choices for you guys to choose and tell us if you agree, yes, no, or if you think things won't change anyway. So let us know. Ask Avani Show. What do you, K-Rose, does this happen a lot in America? Are there people who say, well, you know, if you're a black person, for example, you shouldn't think about joining the police as a career and things like that?
I have a question about something you started off with. You said, especially based on what's been going on around here in the last few years, what has been going on around the UK over the last few years?
Okay, Rose. In America, we know that there's been a lot of black, especially young men, that have been killed. And over here, we have had that same type of problem, unfortunately. And it's just, it seems to be and in fact, I think a couple of weeks ago, there was yet another unfortunate killing of a child. And you just think, because they are children, as far as I'm concerned, it's young children, young black men and teenagers. And if they're not fighting with the police, they're fighting with each other because of crime. And it's this thing where you go into I'm quoting again, people, you go into the wrong postcode, and if you're from one side and as a young, say, from a different ends, you go into someone else's postcode and they say, well, you don't belong here, and it becomes a fight and people are getting stabbed and killed because they're in the wrong place because someone doesn't want them. I mean, what kind of, do you see what I mean? It's ridiculous.
That sounds like the gang mentality and the gang issues that we had as far back as the 70s and 80s. And so are you saying that this is something that has recently started to grow?
Oh, it's been going for a few years now. Yeah, it's never really gone away as far as I could tell. It's just been bubbling under the surface, and sometimes it gets more noticed in the news, where we will hear about a particular case where, like, for example, a couple of years ago there was a teenager who got chased. He was running from a gang of people. Again, I don't even know the full story of why he was running, but he was running through Victoria Station here in London, and these other teenagers chased him and they stabbed him. That's just one, unfortunately, of many stories where we hear about young teenagers dying at the hands of other, gang members and stuff. That's one side of it. And then obviously, because the police are investigating these types of crimes, and then they'll say, well, nobody wants to come forward, the community is scared to talk to us, we can't solve the crime if nobody will tell us anything. What are we supposed to do? But then, I'm not being funny, but the kids don't trust the police, especially the teenagers and young people. They don't trust the police, so they won't say anything, even if they have information. And then it gets to the point where it's sort of like the us and them syndrome. So obviously, if you've had a bad experience as a young person, teenager, with the police, in whatever capacity that might be, are you really going to want to become a police officer? You wouldn't keep your same friends if you did become anything like that, a police officer, or anything to do with the establishment sort of thing. It's like that's one of the careers that's kind of off limits, if you see what I mean.
As far as the people in the community, if you become a officer, then you are basically looked at as being an outsider to the community.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. But the thing is, we need more people in those types of jobs to reflect the communities that they are supposed to serve, isn't it? I think so.
Well, but that's the catch-22. Catch-22 type thing, if you understand what that is, where it's something that would be a benefit for the community. But the community feels that those people who are part of that organization, the police, right, those people are looked at as in a negative light. Yeah. So the people that are in the community don't want to be part of that organization, even though they need to be part of that organization to make it better.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the point I'm trying to pose today, wondering what do people think? Because I have seen it even growing up myself. Even when your friends or your brother or your cousin comes to you and says, oh, you know what, I'm going to be a policeman, or I'm going to be this, anything to do with that type of establishment, any type of job like that, you'll find that a lot of people are saying, you can't be around so-and-so because, they're going to be a police officer. In recent years, even when you were going to be a PCO, was like, I think they're going to stop soon, actually. Please, can someone tell me if I'm wrong over here in the UK? Police Community Support Officer. That's what PSO was. PCO. I'm thinking, wow, anything like that. If you told your friends that, it's like, oh no. People just kind of sort of want to distance themselves and say, oh no, I can't really be around you too much now because you're doing something that, no, that's. But as I said, if we don't have more people representing us in those establishments, it's all like the them and us syndrome. You don't feel that you can trust them. You don't feel that you can ask them for help. You don't feel that they serve, the black community and things like that, because it's always going to, there's just that natural mistrust kind of thing. And I know we have a lot of things over here in common with the US, but we do obviously have a lot of things differently. Now, K-Rose, do you remember? Yeah, I think you do. A couple of weeks ago, remember I said to you that, when, for example, you guys have something called jaywalking?
Yes.
And I had no idea what jaywalking was until I went to America. Okay, for anyone out there who doesn't know what jaywalking is, it's when you cross the road and it's not at a designated pedestrian like road crossing. Over here, sometimes, well, we used to call it like a zebra crossing as well, but we don't call it that much that now. But basically, we used to have where you cross the road, like where the traffic lights are, and it would literally be painted like black and white stripes. Right. So that's why we called it the zebra crossing. But obviously, these days you just have like a designated crossing. But in America, if you cross the road and you haven't crossed at a sort of crossing like that, that's called jaywalking, isn't it? And that's a crime. And what do you call it? Misdemeanor. Is that misdemeanor?
Well, and it's, still a misdemeanor is a crime. It's just a lower level crime, right. But it's something that I have done and do now. But I'm not saying that I'm a Mr. Lawbreaker, but everybody does it. If you are going to, let's say you park your car across directly where you're going, but the crosswalk, which we call it, is about a half a block down. If the traffic's clear, you dart across the street. That's
Yeah, I mean,
not legal,
hello.
but you dart across the street.
I ain't being funny, but I'm just going to say this. Listen, especially over here in the UK, K-Rods, if I want to go into that shop, for example, it's a shoe shop or a bag shop. Hello, especially my fellow sisters out there. You know, we love our bags and shoes and clothes or whatever, makeup. If you see the shop that you want to go into, okay, and why am I going to kill myself to go all the way up the road to find the nearest crossing? Listen, what I want is right in front of me. All I got to do is look left, look right, look left again, and just cross. I ain't trying to waste my time. I want to get in there. Why am I wasting time? But
well, I do understand that. I understand that, and I even from a laziness, which is really what it ends up being. I understand that, and I do that, but that the law is that if 10 people park their cars right there. 10 people back to back on the street, and we all decided that we are not using the crosswalk. We're just going to go straight across the street. Then all the traffic that's coming down the street is going to be disrupted because I'm crossing. Then 2-3 seconds later, somebody else. So we're jamming up the traffic. So I understand the logic behind it, and I agree with the logic because I also drive a car.
Right.
And so you have K-Rose driving his car and K-Rose pedestrian. They both have to coexist. And K-Rose in the car is going to be ticked off at people that are jaywalking because...
Yeah, you ain't trying to knock no one over, right?
But you're disrupting my traffic. I have a green light, but you're crossing in the middle, which means I have to stop. So I understand it. And I agree that it's something that, to me, it's relative to the situation. If there's no traffic, nobody around, if there's traffic, I go to the crosswalk.
Okay. Fair enough. And yeah, I do use the crossings as well. But, sometimes you just want to quickly cross and you think, oh, I don't want to go all that way up there. So, okay, people, fair enough. But the reason why I wanted to mention that is because, obviously, that's one element of something where people do it and they're not really wondering too much about the law of it. Because, obviously, I know that when we could be here all day, but there's lots of things in different states in America where it's legal to do it in one place, but you cross the straight line and it ain't legal anymore. So you have to be careful what you do in what state, isn't it?
Yes, but that's everywhere, though. I'm sure there are things that you can do in some parts of London, and then when you get to some of the other cities in the UK, it's like, wait a minute, we don't do it like that here. So I understand that.
So I was thinking, okay, but then something else that resonated with me. Remember, we talked about this, and I said that I think you Americans, you got issues, right? You lot of dread. Remember, I said to you when you said to me, if someone does not pay their child support, and I thought this was a wind up when I found this out, people. So okay, I thought it was a joke. If you do not pay your child support in America, for the most part, in most states, there's different laws where if you don't pay, you're going to get locked up. You're going to get done for it, as we say over here in the UK. And I was like, what? Because we don't have that. We have like the CSA, and basically they've changed it now. It's like the child maintenance service, sort of child support agency. But they've changed it now where people who go and use that service actually have to pay like an admin charge as well. There's fees. And they never used to have this before. It was like application fees and enforcement charges. But apparently this happened in June 2014. And I was like, you remember what we talked about, the money grab? Right. Everything's a money grab now. But I was just like, so basically what they're trying to say is this child support agency is you need to find a way, if you can, to work it out with your parent, whoever it is, the mother and the father of this child. They need to co-parent, even if they can't stand each other. They need to find a way. Otherwise, it's going to cost them a lot of money. Because if they're trying to get money off each other, it's usually the mother trying to get money off the father. I just have to say that, people. But if they're trying to get money for their child or children, if they have to go through this child support agency, right, it's going to be some dramas now, people. Just know. They're trying to charge you.
Here in the States, as we basically talk about some of the differences between our laws and law enforcement, et cetera, in the States, a lot of the child support system is based on, there it is money always involved, but B, it becomes the powers that believe that there are a lot of deadbeat parents, and so I'll say parents, and I won't make it male or female. I'll just say parents, and it's their way. Just like they look at quote welfare, it's their way of saying we aren't going to support your child through state agencies. We're going to make you the parent put money into the bucket forcibly to support your child if you don't do it on your own, because there's always there's a choice here also in the United States. There's a choice where the person or the couple, they can get together and say, hey, and you're giving me some money. I'm John and I have the child.